can't really see everyone, but I'm sure everyone's had a great meal. There was a very nice lunch over there. And we will try to make it exciting as possible. We've got some great stalwarts here in the industry. It's a pleasure for me to be a part of this panel. Just to probably start off to give a sense, today, the importance of the topic that we are addressing, location. I mean, ultimately, when we talk about the restaurant industry, what comes to your mind is there's a lot of things happening behind the scene. The production is obviously an important part. We have a strong operations team all coming down. But ultimately, you need a good place to exhibit that. As restaurateurs, and I think everyone who's in this crowd who's part of that will always see that there's a lot of passion in this business. Each one of us understands the importance of the food, as part of that concept, and we have a great deal of passion in that. There's a lot of passion when we serve our customers, and this ultimately leads to a sense of pride of the concept. But the one place, and I'm just mean to stress, and don't get me wrong when I say this, the one place where the pride actually has to take a back seat is when choosing a location. The reason I'm saying that is because a location, there's a lot more goes into it than just purely just looking at it and seeing that whether it's the best location in a city or just the most prominent place. Because sometimes always, that turns out to be the most expensive place in the city. So when we go about choosing a right location, one thing always to keep in mind is you need to understand your brand. You need to feel what your brand is trying to, say across to consumers and see the location from that point of view. And that's how, for example, when we go out and see locations, there's a lot of work we do in terms of looking at the business model. There's a lot of work that we do in seeing, operational service angles. And that's what has to be considered when choosing the right place. But at the same time, there's always that angle of emotion attached to it, because you need to, in your gut, you need to be able to see if a particular brand of yours fits in a place. You need to visualize it. So, this concept of location, it's something that I would say is one of the most crucial aspects that when we sit down to see a brand, when we sit down on the expansion of a concept, we always look at it and try to see where it's going to be the next place, whether it's in the same city, whether we want to expand outside the city. And a question a lot of people do ask me when they are, say, looking at entering into F&B for the first time is, what is the best place for me to start my brand? Is it a mall? Is it the high street? That question has changed recently. Now it's the mall, high street. Is it a cinema? Is it the airport? And nowadays, is it hospitals? Is it office complexes? So everyone's trying to take advantage of the commercial angle in all these different arenas. But one needs to realize there's no answer to this question, because it depends on what you are trying to create. It's not that the malls are generally the best, or it's not that a high street location is generally the best for a particular brand to launch. You need to understand your concept and see where does that fit in that particular complex where you're looking at going in. Example, I probably want to relate to some of the things we are doing. So we run brands, for example, maybe two prominent ones are Copper Chimney and the Irish House. These are, again, Mumbai-based brands. We've not gone to Delhi. It's long overdue, so hopefully you'll see us here pretty soon. But we've expanded in quite a bit of the other cities. So in Mumbai, obviously being a base, we're present in Chennai, we're present in Calcutta, we're present Bangalore. I mean, various different places with these brands. Now, the way we look at the challenge for these brands is very differently. Something as a Copper Chimney, for example, which is a brand that requires, people associate well, it's got a good brand name. In places like malls do very well. So, you realize that the brand fits in well where there are good footfalls, and it pulls in people, and it does a great, it's a great opportunity also for mall developers. It's a good brand that fits in there. On the other hand, something like an Irish House, which is a pub concept. I'm not too sure how many people here would have seen that. But that is something where you, for example, like to go on the high street. Or you go in certain places where it becomes kind of a destination outlet. So you do need to realize the concept you're doing and how it fits in with the location that is in your mind. I mean, malls, for example, are great places to go in. You have a lot of support with licensing. There's a great amount of footfalls coming in, and it's the same thing we've seen in cinemas as well. It's a new avenue today for people. We've also looked at it, and it's a great place to go with certain brands. But then you also need to realize that it's not the best place to start a brand off, because obviously there are stronger brands around you. You may get lost in that. So it's always important to consider all the aspects when looking at locations and seeing which one fits in with what you are trying to create. Today, for example, we've expanded a lot into airports. Airports are a place where, no doubt, it's a great avenue for your brand to be present. There are great sales, there's great visibility. But at the same time, you need to keep in mind the costs of operating an airport are much more. The type of operating procedures you need for an airport need to be very strongly set. You need to be able to have your SOPs, your processes systems very strong. Hygiene standards are extremely important. So no doubt everything needs to be considered when you're looking at where you want to see your outlet next. And we have seen the fact that airports, places like hospitals and all, consumers are looking for great brands to come in. So it is something surely to keep in mind when you are looking at your next place. A small thing I'd just like to end with, because I wouldn't want to take it too longer before we go into this concept with everyone here, is the fact what's very important in location, and sometimes, I wouldn't say sometimes, I would say in most places, including by us, is overlooked, is the support of your landlord. Many times the thing that separates a location from being successful and not being successful is the support of the landlord. It's important your landlord believes in your concept. It should not just be you've come there to plug it in, both for yourself and the landlord. It should be something he believes in, something your landlord supports you on, and if that happens, that location will always work. So that, when we go in, each one of you go in, and that's the same. Sometimes we forget, we go see a location, choose it, but these different points of keeping in mind that always you need the support of the landlord who's coming there is an extremely important thing that always I would advise everyone to keep in mind. So just before that, I would just say I'm looking forward to this discussion, and I think we've got a great set of speakers here and great things to discuss. Thanks a lot.